Seldom. 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 Seldom.
Act
Seldom.
1. Contact. It had finally happened. For generations, humans had been fascinated with the idea of aliens. And unless this was an elaborate prank, Earth had finally been visited by an extraterrestrial being. It stood about 9 feet tall. Its garb was a metallic, layered robe that emitted a gentle twinkling sound whenever the being moved or when the wind would gust. The sound was mesmerizing, almost meditative. It had deep, penetrating eyes that spun when it blinked, almost like the cherries and number 7s on a casino slot machine. With each blink, the pupils would follow brief whiteness and return a different color. We later learned that on the visitor's planet, this is how mood and emotion was communicated among its people. People? Should I even say that? They were far from people, and their intelligence was in question because it had difficulty learning more than a few of our words. Many thought the language barrier would lead to miscommunication and some sort of tragedy. But their lone emissary was docile and appeared to pose no threat to humans at all. It was difficult to assign meaning to expressions, but at times it appeared to smile. Biologists pointed out that its teeth were those of carnivores, and that could not be a good thing for humans. Indeed, its gentle nature didn't matter to many people around the world. Truth be told, its appearance, though video game-like, was quite threatening to some. Que feo. It's so ugly. It has to be dangerous. Sentiments of fear and distrust were whispered in every language. Against the advice of scientists, reporters irresponsibly repeated the concerns of their respective viewing audiences in earshot of the strange visitor. The being called himself Victor. He repeated the name dozens of times whenever he was asked what his name was or where he was from. The only other word he uttered was in English. It was this word that eased the tensions of the numerous delegations from around the globe that had converged on Napleton, Maine, where Victor's craft had landed.
Is your race malevolent?
Seldom.
Are you here in peace?
Seldom.
What do you want from us?
Seldom.
Do you want to hurt us?
Seldom.
Do you want to eat us or destroy us?
Seldom.
This type of back and forth went on for days. During that time, Victor made no overt aggressive actions. He was always calm, and the beautiful twinkling of his robe gave him an almost angelic presence. He was always welcoming. On day 8, Victor began to rub his abdomen, or at least the area where the human abdomen is located. Concerned groups from all over brought him different types of food. He didn't accept any of it. Some skeptics started to think that the dam was about to burst. They were sure the alien visitor was about to show his hand and start eating some of the dozens of reporters, government officials, and law enforcement that had made permanent camp at his landing spot in the forest. Victor never harmed anyone, but some biologists from Harvard suggested he was getting visibly weaker from perhaps a lack of food. What can we feed you? What do you eat? The humans in charge asked these questions several times a day. Then Victor uttered his first new word. That was it. He had to return home to eat. His species had to be benevolent. His revelation that he had to return to his planet to eat eased the tensions of naysayers and fearmongers. Act 2. Gifts. One evening, Victor boarded his craft and exited with a bag full of flawless diamonds. He beckoned to an American Army general to approach him and proceeded to offer the diamonds as a gift of some sort. These are freaking immaculate. The brass from the Geological Society of America were dumbfounded. After some time with the stones, they exited their trailer with dollar signs literally glowing in their eyes. There has to be at least $100 million worth of diamonds here. And the quality is unlike anything we've ever seen on Earth. This is insane. A group of obvious devout capitalists approached Victor, speaking to him as if he was a stupid child.
More? Can we get more? Rocks.
worthless, to us, but very beautiful.
Some onlookers shook their heads in objection to this unnecessary deception. What would be the purpose of lying to an alien being who gave the diamonds as a gift? Victor appeared to smile, pointed to the heavens, and said,
Home.
A new frenzy started. A different, more sinister frenzy. Leaders from every country convened and bickered day and night in an effort to try and determine who would get to return to Victor's world and retrieve diamonds or whatever other precious resources were there for the taking. Look, he landed on American soil. We will determine who goes with our new friend to mine diamonds.
How do you know we'd have to mine for the diamonds?
Maybe the darn things are just laying on the ground like pebbles.
Maybe there's all sorts of valuable gems and gold and precious metals just lying on the ground that have no monetary value to the Harmonites.
Humans thrive off of power asymmetries. We are intrinsically hierarchical. Almost immediately after the group of college adventurers happened upon Victor, anthropologists began the process of finding out where the alien species fit into a hierarchy of races and ethnicities. Before Victor's arrival, every individual on Earth could be placed in one of 7 racial groups: Caucasoid, Negroid, Mongoloid, Asiatic subgroup, Pacific Islander or Australian, Amerindian, and Eskimo. The authority of science has long been co-opted by the champions of white supremacy, so it was not unusual for some humans to find a place for the visitors using pseudo-scientific methods that would not disrupt the natural order of things on Earth. Act 3, July 17th. His ship looks to hold about 4,000 people. The United States will fill the first 500 seats. That's all we need. There were 3,500 seats left to fill. Other state leaders selected who would take the trip from their respective countries. Most accepted bribes and showed favor to their wealthiest citizens. And then came July 17th. 4,000 of the most influential and powerful individuals and families on the planet were gathered in a holding area ready to leave Earth's atmosphere for the first time. Except for several hundred scientists, photographers, military personnel, and documentarians, the group primarily consisted of the most affluent individuals in the world. At 8 p.m., the boarding started, but each time a woman, child, or black person tried to board the craft, Victor would block them. What is this? Why can't my family get on? What's the problem? There was a crescendo of complaints in more than 30 languages. Quiet, everyone. Victor knows that we are visiting his planet for diamonds, right? Maybe he knows that either the terrain or the weather or the mining process is too much for women and children. He's been a straight shooter thus far. Maybe he's letting us know that on this trip we should be sending our strongest and most brilliant men. Well, where are all the black people at? Why isn't that creepy ET letting any black people on? An African-American military communications officer had been selected to take the trip, but was being denied entry onto the ship. Sir, we don't have answers to everything, but the Harmonites have to have their reasons for blocking entry to people of color. But it has to be something with the atmosphere, or perhaps blacks need to go through some other process. Some other process? What do you mean, some other process? Are you listening to yourself? Tensions were getting high. Look, it's his ship. He is the host. He gets to decide who goes and who stays. Let's send the men we have, and all of you can call friends to take the seats your women and children would have taken. As far as any racial disparities, we can squabble over that amongst ourselves later. Let's not miss this opportunity. Act 4. Able, strong, straight-limbed, industrious, spry. After the ship breached the edge of space, what the scientists referred to as the Kármán line, the opaque metal hull of the ship gradually became completely translucent. They weren't windows, but like see-through metal. It was now possible to see everything. It was so beautiful. And then, nothing. 4,000 human passengers awakened to find that they were each now tightly packed in their own cage. Fear set in immediately. Grown men yelled and wailed as some suffered debilitating claustrophobia. The human cargo could hear each other, but it was pitch dark on the vessel. And then a familiar voice.
Be still. Be calm.
At that moment, the lights were turned on. It was Victor. Those who had an opportunity to interact with directly on Earth now addressed him with confusion. They begged to know the meaning of their imprisonment. They accused him of pretending not to understand their language. Victor spoke.
I am Canuck. I hail from Odysseus Prime, a star system some 14 billion light years from your planet. Our children are required to learn more than 60,000 primitive languages before they begin school. Where I am from, bond servants are required to perform all manner of manual labor, foraging, hunting, food preparation, and household duties. You all are my bounty from this hunting trip. You will go to good homes and be well cared for.
One of the generals had slipped a high-powered satellite phone into his shirt before boarding the alien craft back on Earth. Using the cacophony of yelling and screaming as cover, he phoned the African-American communications officer who was blocked from boarding the vessel. "Warn everyone! Warn the entire world! It was all a ruse, a trick. Victor is a slave trader. He locked us all in cages and is now taking us to market on some planet called Odysseus Prime. We don't have the technology to reach it. It's too far away. Please, when the Harmonites return, destroy them all. If Victor returns, do not trust him. He was trying to tell us all along. He wasn't saying seldom. He was saying sell them. Sell them, I tell you. The Harmonites are slave traders, and for whatever reason, they prize wealthy, educated white men. I'm scared, soldier. Please, warn everyone." The communications officer started to walk towards the presidential detail to relay the general's message. He was immediately blocked from entering the tent by several white Secret Service agents who demanded to know what his business was with the President of the United States. The young man paused and simply said, "General Atkins just called from the alien ship. He said all is well and send everyone who wishes to go. It's perfectly safe." Thank you for listening to my original story entitled Seldom. If you enjoyed it, please like this video, share it, and consider subscribing to my channel.